Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a really interesting area you flagged, the global digital dose inhaler market.
That's right.
You sent over this comprehensive global digital dose inhaler market report 2025. And our mission today is, well, to get beyond just the raw numbers.
Exactly. We want to pull out the key insights.
Yeah, what's driving this market?
Yeah.
Where is it actually heading? And, what are the key regional differences? We want to paint a clearer picture of this whole landscape.
And by the end, you, the learner, should have a much better feel for this intersection of healthcare and tech.
It's not just about devices, is it?
Not at all. It's really about how technology is shifting the way we manage chronic respiratory conditions.
Yeah.
Whether it's for professional interest, understanding broader healthcare innovation, or just plain curiosity about what's next in medtech. We aim to connect the dots.
Okay, good. So let's start with the big picture then. This report lays out some pretty impressive figures globally. What are we talking about in terms of market size now, and where is it projected to go?
Right. So for 2025, the report estimates the global market at around USD 19,246 million.
19 billion, roughly.
Yeah. But here's where it gets really interesting. The growth. By 2033, they're forecasting a jump to USD 81,657.3 million.
Wow, 81 billion. That's quite a leap.
It really is. To put that in perspective, it translates to a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of just under 20%, 19.80% to be exact, over that period from 2025 to 2033.
Almost 20% year-on-year growth. That's a really powerful trajectory. What's the main engine behind that kind of expansion? What's fueling it?
Well, the primary engine, according to this report, is the increasing prevalence of chronic respiratory diseases worldwide. Conditions like asthma and COPD, their incidence is rising globally, and these digital inhalers, they offer some really compelling advantages for managing them more effectively.
That makes perfect sense. A growing need drives a growing market for, well, better solutions.
Precisely.
So substantial global market, significant growth predicted, tied to this increasing health challenge.
Got it. Now let's get regional. How does this picture break down across the globe? Where's the most activity right now?
Okay, so currently, North America holds the lion's share of the market.
Right.
In 2025, they're looking at around USD 7,121 million. That's over 40% of the global total.
Over 40%. Significant.
And they're projected to maintain strong growth, too, with a CAGR of 18.1% through 2033. Within North America, the U.S. is really the dominant force. About USD 5,618 million market in 2025 and a 17.9% CAGR. The report flags technological innovation as a key driver there.
Innovation in the U.S. Makes sense.
Then you have Canada with around USD 854 million in 2025, but actually a slightly higher growth rate forecast at 18.9%. The report links that to the rising prevalence of COPD, specifically in Canada.
Interesting nuance there.
And Mexico is also significant, about USD 648 million market, 18.6% CAGR. So a strong region overall. Okay, so North America's leading, U.S. leaning on innovation, Canada responding to COPD rates. What about Europe? How does their story compare?
Europe is the second largest market. They account for over 30% of global revenue.
Still a big chunk.
Yeah, market size around USD 5,581 million in 2025, and their projected CAGR is actually quite similar to North America's at 18.7%.
Okay.
Germany leads the pack in Europe, about USD 1,105 million market, 18.9% CAGR. Again, linked to their advancements in medical tech.
Right.
The UK is also a major player, around USD 937 million, but with a slightly higher CAGR projection of 19.5%. The report points to increased adoption of connected healthcare solutions there.
Connected health focus in the UK. That tracks.
Definitely. And then we see solid markets and growth across the board. Russia, France, Italy, Spain, even smaller markets like Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg show healthy growth. Luxembourg actually has a projected CAGR of 19.0%.
So pretty widespread adoption across Europe then.
It seems that way, yeah. A strong, steadily growing market overall.
Okay. Now, let's shift to Asia Pacific. APAC, often talked about as a huge growth area. What does the report say here?
You're absolutely right to flag that. APAC is where the report projects the most rapid growth. So in 2025, the market's estimated at about USD 4,619 million. That's roughly 23% of global revenue right now.
Okay. Smaller than North America and Europe currently.
Yes, but the projected CAGR from 2025 to 2033 is a really striking 22.9%. That's the highest of any region.
23%. Wow. What's driving that acceleration?
It's a combination of factors, really.
Yeah.
Rising air pollution in many parts of Asia is unfortunately contributing to more respiratory issues. We're also seeing shifts in Smoking habits and aging population,
Yeah.
these all increase the need for respiratory management.
Right.
And then add in advancements in smart inhaler tech itself, plus increasing government investments in healthcare infrastructure. It all fuels that growth.
That's a potent mix. Which specific countries in APAC are leading this surge?
Well, China has the largest market in the region currently, about USD 1,940 million in 2025, with a strong CDR of 22.4%. The report links that directly to rising respiratory disease prevalence there.
Okay, China's big.
But the real standout in terms of growth rate is India. They have the highest projected CAGR in APAC at 24.8%. Their 2025 market size is smaller, around USD 461 million, but the growth potential is huge.
India at nearly 25% CAGR.
Remarkable.
Yeah, and Japan and South Korea also have substantial markets and strong growth forecasts, over 21% and 22% CAGR respectively. And don't forget, Southeast Asia, as a collective bloc, they're looking at a robust 23.7% CAGR. So it's really dynamic across the region.
So North America holds the biggest piece now, but APAC, led by China and especially India's growth rate, is really gearing up for the most rapid expansion.
Fascinating. What about South America, the Middle East, and Africa? How do they fit in?
Let's see. South America's 2025 market is around USD 731 million, so just over 5% of global revenue, but still a healthy projected DGR of 20.6%.
Still growing faster than North America or Europe, then.
Yes, exactly. Brazil and Argentina are the key markets there. The report mentions a growing need for more durable digital inhalers in Brazil, maybe due to usage conditions. And in Argentina, rising disposable incomes making the tech more accessible.
Interesting local factors. And the Middle East.
Middle East is slightly larger, USD 769 million in 2025, with a CAGR of 21.2%. Again, strong growth potential, likely driven by factors like air quality issues, smoking rates, but also improving healthcare systems. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are the main markets.
Okay. And Africa.
Africa has the smallest current market size, about USD 423 million in 2025, but still a solid TGR projection of 20.1%. South Africa is the largest market within the continent. And the report specifically mentions rising demand for, quote, heavy-duty inhalers in Nigeria, perhaps reflecting specific environmental needs or usage patterns there too.
Right. It's really interesting seeing those regional variations tied to local conditions and economic factors. Okay, let's switch gears slightly. The report also segments the market by the type of inhaler. What are the main product categories we're looking at?
Primarily, it's divided into meter-dose inhalers, MDIs, and dry powder inhalers, or DPIs.
MDIs and DPIs. Got it.
Right now, MDIs are likely the dominant segment. The report suggests this is down to a few things. Just the sheer established prevalence of asthma and COPD, where MDIs have been a mainstay. Ongoing tech improvements in MDIs themselves, like adding electronic dose counters, connectivity, and also just greater awareness now about treatment adherence.
So the established option, but getting smarter.
Exactly. They've been a cornerstone for a long time.
But the report also flags the other segment, DPIs, as growing faster, right?
Yes, absolutely. Dry powder inhalers are identified as the fastest growing segment.
Why is that?
Again, multiple factors. The rising numbers diagnosed with asthma and COPD play a role. Also, the development of really user-friendly smart tech for DPIs that helps with adherence. Plus, the aging global population, some might find DPIs easier to use correctly. And just generally, increased healthcare awareness. DPIs are often seen as efficient, simple, and precise.
Okay, so MDIs hold the bigger share now, but DPIs are gaining ground quickly, maybe because they're seen as easier or more modern in some ways.
That seems to be the trend, yes. Driven by usability and that focus on adherence tech.
All right, now let's look at how these inhalers are being used, the applications. What are the main disease areas driving this market?
Okay, the largest application area by far is COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease.
COPD.
This is mainly because, well, so many people globally live with COPD. It's a progressive condition requiring really consistent, accurate medication delivery and digital inhalers. They offer tools to significantly improve how well patients stick to their treatment plans, which means better outcomes.
Makes sense. Better adherence for a chronic, serious condition. What's the other main area?
The other major application is asthma.
Right.
Now, currently it represents a smaller market share compared to COPD, but the asthma segment is growing rapidly.
Faster growth in asthma.
Yes, driven by the increasing global prevalence of asthma itself, particularly noticeable in children. And the advancements in digital inhalers offer real benefits here. Real-time tracking of use, potentially better drug delivery, improved adherence for asthma patients too.
And environmental factors probably play a role.
Definitely. Things like air pollution are contributing to rising asthma rates, which further fuels the demand for these kinds of digital solutions.
So it's really clear that the growing burden of both COPD and asthma is the central force pushing this whole market forward. Let's dig into the drivers a bit more. What key factors does the report highlight as making this market move?
It points to several key drivers. First, the rising global geriatric population. Older people are just more susceptible to chronic respiratory disorders, so that's a demographic push.
Okay, aging population. What else?
Second, there's a clear growing demand from both patients and doctors for technology-enabled features. People want connectivity, they want the data these devices provide.
Right, the smart aspect.
Exactly. And finally, a really crucial driver is the increasing global emphasis on managing chronic respiratory diseases better. Digital inhalers are seen as tools for more proactive, informed management.
Those all seem very logical. Aging population, demand for tech, better chronic disease management focus. It all points towards growth. But are there any headwinds? What might be holding the market back?
Yes, the report does identify some restraints. A key one is the significant cost involved. R&D, manufacturing these sophisticated digital devices. It requires substantial investment.
Right, development cost. Okay.
And the other major restraint is regulation. There are stringent, complex, and often lengthy regulatory approval processes for medical devices like these that can sometimes slow down getting new products to market.
So innovation costs and regulatory hurdles. Potential challenges there. What about broader trends shaping the market? What future developments does the report suggest?
It highlights a couple of important trends. One is simply growing awareness. Both patients and healthcare professionals are becoming more aware of the benefits of these high-tech devices. As more data comes out showing they work well and are easy to use, adoption should increase.
More awareness leading to more uptake.
Right. And additionally, the ongoing improvements we see in healthcare infrastructure globally, plus the general trend of increased healthcare spending, creates a more favorable environment for this market to grow.
Okay, so awareness and better healthcare systems are positive signs. Now, the report touches on the players. Who are the big companies in this space? What's the competitive landscape like?
It's described as highly competitive. You've got a mix of big, established global pharma companies and some more specialized regional players.
Who gets named?
The report specifically mentions Teva Pharmaceutical Industries, BXCMCO Pharmaceuticals, GlaxoSmithKline GSK, and Mundipharma Deutschland.
Some familiar names there.
Yeah. They're seen as holding significant market share due to their wide product portfolios, strong distribution networks, and, importantly, their ongoing innovation efforts.
Right. Innovation keeps coming up. The report even gives a specific example of that, doesn't it?
It does, yes. It highlights Teva UK launching their Goref Digihaler back in July 2023.
What was special about that one?
What's noteworthy is it's described as the first integrated inhaler with built-in sensors. These sensors collect objective data on how the patient is actually using the inhaler, things like their inspiratory flow rate.
So the tech is right inside the inhaler itself, collecting data as you use it.
Exactly. It combines the medication delivery and the data collection in one device. That's a big step, offering valuable insights for both the patient and their doctor.
That's a really compelling example of the kind of innovation pushing this market. It's not just about delivering the drug, but understanding how it's delivered and used.
Well, we've covered a huge amount of ground here. Let's try and distill it down. What are the main takeaways for you, the learner? Okay, absolutely. I think the first thing is just the clear, significant upward trajectory of this market. It's really taking off.
Fueled by rising respiratory diseases and digital tech advances.
Precisely. We're looking at that jump from around, what, USD 19 billion in 2025 to over USD 81 billion by 2033. Huge growth.
And regionally?
Regionally, while North America has the largest share now, keep a very close eye on Asia Pacific. That's where the most rapid growth is projected, indicating major future opportunities.
And the products themselves.
Meter dose inhalers, the MDIs, led currently. But the dry powder inhalers, DPIs, are the segment growing fastest.
And applications.
COPD management represents the largest slice of the pie right now, reflecting the huge global impact of that condition. But asthma is growing fast too.
So whether you're tracking healthcare trends, maybe looking at med device investments, or just want to stay informed on medical tech, this deep dive gives a pretty solid foundation, I think.
Yeah, it's not just the numbers, but the why behind them. The health needs and the tech innovations coming together.
Right. And that leads us to maybe a final thought to leave people with.
Go for it.
Well, thinking about these rapid advances, connected devices, AI getting smarter, how might future digital inhalers evolve?
Yeah, that's the really interesting question.
Could they move beyond just tracking usage, maybe offer predictive insights? Or even, I don't know, personalized adjustments to medication in real time based on the data.
It's definitely heading in that direction,
Yeah,
moving from just tracking to actively assisting, maybe even predicting exacerbations before they happen.
fascinating stuff. But also raises questions perhaps about data privacy, algorithmic bias.
Oh, absolutely. Ethical considerations will be huge as the technology gets more sophisticated and integrated. Definitely an area to watch closely as healthcare gets smarter.